We will.
But the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City premiered on my half birthday. Because look, I had a brownie. But let's talk about it. What were your first impressions?
First impressions were, I like the ladies. I think it will be interesting. I agree. And I love that they picked a city that has and is known to a degree to have such luxury, and like it's such a big ski place, and like you see with the ski houses, like they're monstrosities, and there is so much luxury there, but it's different.
Real money.
Yeah, it's different than, New York, New Jersey, Beverly Hills, and all of these others. So I thought that was interesting. And I think, the environment there will be new and exciting to all of us. I'm still having a tough time telling the difference between some of the ladies, if I'm being honest.
You mean like the twins, Meredith and Lisa?
I once said I'm Jewish from New York, and one's Jewish from Chicago, and
so there's a lot of Jewish in there. I love
everyone. It's all the same.
I did a quick little TikTok. If you're not following me on TikTok, follow me at the Kempire, whatever. I did a TikTok and I said, this might be the most diverse Real Housewives franchise, and you wouldn't expect it in Salt Lake City, but there's so many religions: Jewish, Mormonism, Muslim, Pentecostal, there's Black, there's Hawaiian. First of all, Hawaiian alone is a mix of everything, and she's with a Black man. First of all, when I saw New York City Real Housewives, and it was just so white, which is okay, but that's not the New York City that we know. But to come to Salt Lake City and see Black people in the background, Black people in the front ground, it was just like, where are we?
It was nice. It was nice to see. It was really
I didn't know that many Black people were in Utah, though.
Well, we all learned something new.
Do you think it might be the most diverse franchise, even in comparison to like Atlanta, where it's just all Black people, even though we had the one white woman?
I think yes. And I hope that, that we know they're recasting a lot of, or have been recasting a lot of Housewives, and, making it more diverse and more realistic. But I hope that this is the direction, to follow what they're doing in Salt Lake and to go in that direction. I think it's a really good thing.
And also the other thing that I like about Salt Lake is that these women actually know each other. And you and I have already talked about how that really works, especially here in New York City. There have been relationships, maybe not long relationships, but there are people. Heather and Whitney, because I have the names in front of me, are cousins.
Yes.
And a lot of these women have known each other for several years, maybe longer than that. I like that, and you can see the comfortableness amongst them.
I like that also, and I thought one thing I noticed, which
is comfortableness a word? We'll make a word.
Yeah, that's fine. One thing that I noticed, and I don't remember seeing it in other seasons, could be wrong. But in the first episode, when they referenced things that happened a few months ago or last week, and they had footage of it, and it was like, just two ladies hanging out in the closet, because the closets are full-size bedrooms.
Oh, I love it.
But like going through clothing and trying things on. And it was like, that is a real friendship. That is what people really do when they're friends.
And she told her that she smelled like hospital.
Well, so that was the drama of the first episode. And I think they're like that part. It was like, you're trying a little too hard. It's going to be like Beverly Hills. Let's just drop this.
Yeah. But you saw what she said after that. She's like, she didn't apologize. And we're talking about Mary Cosby, right? Mary Cosby. No relation to Bill Cosby that I know of.
That's correct. I have to look at the names to see.
This is the same housewife that married her step-grandfather because it was in the will of her grandmother in order to keep the businesses that they have.
We're going to unpack this season, right?
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm as my favorite housewife of Salt Lake City, Jen Shaw, said, and she's my favorite now, but I see a lot of Ramona in her.
Why? Why is she your favorite?
Just because she brings everything you're supposed to bring when you're a Real Housewife.
Okay.
She's not my favorite of the entire, franchises.
Right.
But she, to me, brings what you need. She brings the wit, she brings the humor, she brings the drama.
So it's funny you say that she's like Ramona, because to me, she came on a little too strong.
Oh, and I agree, but I received it because I was like, okay, it's entertaining enough right now. I'm not annoyed by her.
Okay.
But at the same time, Ramona, I would never be friends with Ramona, but I understand what she brings to the show. Like, I think Ramona probably voted for Trump. So in real life, I would never even look at Ramona.
Right.
But for television, I don't mind Ramona.
Yeah. See, I go back and forth with her.
Early Ramona.
Right. But the same thing. So we'll see what happens with Jen Shah, but she might bring it too much, and it might be overkill.
Yeah, it might. But this was the first episode. I'm not sure. I love how she threw a birthday party for Meredith, but it really was a celebration for herself. But she owned that. She owned it.
She did.
A little bit.
But I think we know at least that's who we're getting, and I appreciate that because with some of the ladies, it was a mixed bag. I have no opinions about some of them. I think Heather reminded me a little bit of Heather Thompson from New York. And I love Heather Thompson.
Yes.
I think I was, at first, I couldn't remember if her name was Heather or if she just reminded me of Heather. But there's something about, which I personally like mixed into these ladies, is a strong female businesswoman.
Yes, that's the other thing that I noticed.
And you see her with her kids. And I really liked what she brought as a person. That
is her own $1 million business.
Yes. And the other thing that I really liked, and I thought about this as soon as we met all the ladies, most of them are business owners, or they do something independent from their significant others.
I noticed that too.
That I really loved, because you get to see a whole new modern dynamic. And I think a lot of
Salt Lake City.
Exactly. And
we didn't expect that.
Not at all. And I think in a lot of the other franchises, there are a lot of women who, have, like Heather Thompson. She has her own business completely independent from her husband. I think there are a lot of those, but there are more where they created businesses from the show or funded by their husband.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. And not saying that, one of them owns a boutique, maybe her husband funded it, fine. But I love that it wasn't what defined them, but it was just, this is part of my life. I own a store, or I'm a stylist, and I do X, Y, and Z. And I have, my husband who does this. And it was nice to see these independent women in relationships, mothers, that they're doing it all.
I agree. That was one of the biggest things that stood out to me, the diversity, but also women doing it for themselves. Mm-hmm. Speaking of women doing it for themselves, let's talk about Whitney Rose, who was excommunicated from the Mormon Church, her and her husband, because they were both married to two other people before, when they were working with each other, and ended up having an affair. And then, first of all, can we just talk about how Mormonism may have been very racist back in the day?
Oh, no, it definitely was.
It might be a little bit still, but okay.
I was going to say still might be, but I think that also what's going to be so interesting this season, even if some of the ladies are slacking a little bit, which happens, but we're going to learn so much. And I think that it's going to fascinate us.
Pretty fascinated.
Exactly. And did we expect this in Salt Lake? Did we expect this in Utah? No, we didn't. But there's going to be so much more of that. And when they talk about my family was, Mormon royalty, yes. Tell me more about that.
I didn't know there was a Mormon royalty.
Well, there is, and we need to learn more. And I promise I will deep dive on all of this for our next episode, so I'm better prepared. But this, I'm still absorbing just meeting them.
Of course. Whitney Rose, to me, plays sort of like that newbie, very coy, sort of like what we've seen in some of these other franchises, where you have that sort of the young one, a little bit lighter energy.